He has to get out and play and start afresh and clear his mind of all. Like, they don't want him. Nobody wants him at Man United.
You are listening to House of Football, brought to you by Sports Joe and William Hill.
Hello, I'm Eric Lalor. Welcome to House of Football, episode 21, sponsored by William Hill and Sports Joe. And it's great to have Alan Cawley and Stephen Hunt back in the studio again. Lads, we'll cut straight to the chase. The Premier League has kicked off. There are 1,000,001 stories to get through. And we will start with probably the best story of the weekend. Or was it the best story of the weekend? Daniel Sturridge's performance.
Keane's going to knock him out.
As a pundit.
Keane is going to knock him out.
I'm surprised he hasn't already.
It's hard work.
A lot of memes went around already looking at Keane's kind of simmering, boiling temper. As Daniel was, having, he was joking about him. Was he even impersonated him doing the baby thing? He slagged him off.
Keane deserves this still.
Oh, you think
Keane's
so? Yeah.
playing the game the last 6 months. How he is, like that ain't the Roy Keane.
Yeah,
the real Roy Keane. I don't think. Like, and if it is, then let him suffer now. He's made his own bed, Roy. He's on everything.
Yeah, he is on everything. Yeah. And he even got
He's
back.
even on more than Alan.
Well, let's not go too harsh.
Well, I'm not getting the money he's getting, Stephen, for it.
Oh my God!
But he, the whole Micah Richards dynamic, people like that.
Yeah,
I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't like it at all.
What do you not look about it, Al? Is it?
I think it's a bit forced, more so on his part, Richards.
Yeah,
and I think I find him hard to listen to on the punditry. I don't think he offers very much.
Yeah.
And he's there as the bit of the stupid laugh with Keane.
Yeah.
As the comic guy. And I don't like it at all. And now Lineker and Shearer have tapped into the same thing with him, and it's all laughing and joking rubbish.
Banter.
Yeah, it's rubbish, absolute rubbish. Yeah. Give me Keane and Neville and Carragher having a proper football debate and let it take it wherever it is, passion-wise. So now they've added Sturridge into it. And actually, the couple of clips I've heard of Sturridge on the football side isn't
good.
bad.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But all this other crack going along with it now, and
but it seems to be that Sky have identified that Roy is this, this seriously angry individual. He makes comments that are controversial, and they have Micah Richards as his foil, and now they want to ramp it up again by bringing in Sturridge.
And as Stephen said, Roy's been playing up to that.
Yeah. He's milked everything for the last 6 months to a year, even getting dressed as a clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Never thought
Roy is an angry man. There's no doubt about it, and he's that's what got him the success.
Oh, yeah, he dressed up as a leprechaun for Chris before, didn't he?
Well, that was years ago, wasn't he? And he nearly mocked himself for that. But he's gone full circle. And I don't know, did you see the overlap series on the little tour they did? And it's him, Neville, Carragher, and he was brilliant on it. And like that, light-hearted, bit of fun, bit of crack, but not Mickey Mouse stuff.
Yeah, light-hearted is fine. You're right. Exactly that way. Light-hearted. Mickey Mouse, like putting his arm around him. Like
dressing up the Mickey Mouse stuff, it is. It's not for me.
Is that the way punditry is going, do you think?
And then if that leads me on, right, so that's the first part, because that was on the Sunday. That leads me on then to Monday Night Football, and that's probably my favourite show, Neville and Carragher. The gadgets, here we go again.
Did you see that?
Too much. It's too much.
Oh, do you think it's gone too far?
Yeah, and this crack in the eyes
of the player.
Yeah, like such nonsense in the eyes of the player.
I thought it was quite interesting.
I think the way they explain things is far more interesting than putting a camera up with a gadget and you're in the eyes of the player and seeing what he sees. We all know what the player sees. We all have an understanding.
We know what the player sees, to be fair.
Yeah,
we've been there.
Because these are players. We're players.
Yeah, and it probably goes to show how blinkered you actually feel sometimes if you don't know your spatial awareness. Especially me, you're a midfielder, as you said. On the half turn, I was more back to line, give me the ball to my feet, like so.
But there was a great
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I thought because it worked well when was it Karen Carney who was on? I thought Karen Carney was actually very good, and there was they showed the goal for Liverpool the pass from Salah, but it didn't it was a great pass, but when you see it from the player's perspective, it was the eye of a needle pass.
Look, I'm being. That pass, when it happened live on Sunday, I knew it was eye of a needle. I didn't need them to go into the player's eyes and show me it was the eye of a needle. You can tell that. And the pass, the first thing I said watching that match, the pass is unreal. It was I didn't mention one thing about the finish. I didn't mention one thing about Luis Diaz's run, which was that was secondary. The first thing was the pass was unreal from Salah.
Yeah,
but we knew that. But then, as used to go into his eyes and.
I just think I suppose the way Sky are looking at it is they're looking at it from the layman's terms. Both of you were professional footballers. You would have appreciated that anyway. But to the normal fan, for me even, it was like, oh my God.
Well,
do you not
think then Monday Night Football last year, where they would have broken that down on a screen and showed you positionally?
Yeah.
Do you not think and talked you through it? Do you think last night was more beneficial than that last year?
I wouldn't say more beneficial. It was just a different experience.
Gave you a better understanding of it.
It was almost like virtual reality or something.
Yeah, I actually
gadgety.
think we see pictures, 2 or 3 pictures ahead in
Yeah.
football terms than Eric, and that's not
No,
disrespectful.
listen, you're grand, Stephen. I don't even see that.
What
Like,
did
people-
you
The
make
more
of?
football I see, amateur soccer, and the more I see like kind of underage people growing up, they don't see them pictures yet.
Yeah.
No.
And that picture,
I think that's who
shows
they're
how
appealing
tight it
to,
is,
Stephen,
like,
because
yeah.
of that. You know, they're showing the layman, the ordinary fan, what it's actually like.
And as I say, I love Carragher and Neville. I'd listen to them all day long, and that Monday Night Football always brilliant. I'd be glued to it. Some nights last year, I wanted the game to be cancelled and let them talk for 4 hours and break down all sorts and go through things, because I love the talking side of it. Last night, I just thought it was like, our gimmicks are better than your gimmicks.
Right, yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
Jamie was given any training because he didn't use the new one. He was still doing the old style. He was
most
obviously
of these boys are in Portugal, aren't they? They're on holiday still.
Yeah.
They're flying back over to the games, and they go back out to their family.
Yeah.
So they're
Bit
not
like you, Hunty.
a bit just the Ross Lair Portugal, right? The poorer version, apparently.
Ross Lair, Portugal,
Yeah.
twinned. So like Daniel Sturridge, okay, decent kind of mixed start. A lot of people enjoyed. Well, he actually said, Al, he had some good points to make about the game itself and the play and all that, but maybe overdoing it with the banter.
I felt he was trying a bit too hard.
Yeah. Okay.
That let it be natural and let it flow, and if there's a joke to be cracked, crack it, but you're not forcing the jokes on people, and there was a bit of that. And then the song thing.
It's just outrageous. Sorry.
We touched on like the goal that Liverpool scored, and the pass came from Salah, who was, I suppose, subbed then, and the story was he didn't look too happy, and even Roy had a little dig at him, going like, you know the cameras are on you, what you doing? That taking the strip off, throwing him, taking the strip off, throwing him, and then he gets back on the bench, he's still throwing stuff, and there's people beside him like don't make eye contact with him, don't make eye contact with him. Matt was fuming. Is that just frustration from Mo Salah, or was it more to do with the fact that he maybe felt, because they brought this kid on for him, Doak, who's apparently been really good and a really great prospect, but is it just his frustration in the moment, or is there an underlying issue there, do you think?
This happened a couple of times last year and the year before with Salah. I remember there was one at Burnley, and what's his name, Sadio Mane wouldn't pass him the ball, and there was a bit of trouble with the two of them. And I always sensed there was something of a bit of an undercurrent with them, and a bit of greed on Salah's part sometimes as well. But looking at the one on Sunday, I thought he was just frustrated being taken off, and rightly so. I thought he looked really sharp, Salah. Like really sharp, and the game's in the balance, and he's looking at it thinking, I'm your match winner here, 15 minutes to go, you're bringing me off. So obviously if it gets out of hand in terms of that, fair enough, he's throwing the hands.
He doesn't do it very often, to be fair.
No, he
does
doesn't. But if
That's
that
why-
leads to going into the dressing room, and then he's in the ear of other players, and it turns into something bigger than what it was. But I think Klopp will nip that in the bud. I don't think Klopp will mind too much that he's annoyed coming off. He should be annoyed coming off.
Well, yeah, all managers say that. I would hope my players are annoyed.
Yeah, I
being
see
taken
fellas. I played with fellas and they're running off the pitch, can't get off the pitch quick enough. I'm like, what is going
I'm
on
actually
here?
surprised Klopp is still there, because I thought it was unravelling last year for him at certain times, but he seems to have steadied the ship with the board and made peace a little bit. So
Well, I mean,
this doesn't help.
yeah, but this doesn't help. But I mean, I think what doesn't help even more so is the
Players turning them down.
both
Two.
high profile transfers agreed with the club, and then they both chose Chelsea, and you're kind of going, wow, is that the lure of London, Stephen?
I think they'll be more disappointed with Lavia than Caicedo. I think the Caicedo one, they've gone in for him not knowing that he ain't going to come, I don't think, and they've just upped the value of him and made Chelsea pay the money to make him struggle financial fair play. I generally do think they probably never thought they'd
Do you
get
think?
him. A little bit. There's a little bit of egg in their face publicly, which doesn't look good, but it got out, it was leaked that the structure of the payments were quite high from Liverpool to get the 100 million paid up front quite quickly. Chelsea would have had to match that. So that means that financial fair play is going to be a little bit under more pressure than what it should be.
Yeah, I think as well, what Eric's saying there about the two players, I think there is serious embarrassment on the fact that they've turned a great club like Liverpool down. But the money's obscene, Eric. And the fact that Lavia, Liverpool initially were going to pay 50, which was extortionate, and then they upped it to 60, almost you're getting desperate at that stage. It's like a girl who turns you down, and when you ask her out, and then you're going back again when she's already with the boyfriend down the road, and you're nearly begging her down the street. Like, come on.
We've all been there on it.
You play the game. Reverse psychology, lad. Let him stew.
Play hard to get. Play hard
Don't even
to get.
look at him.
So is the issue there, lads, with the two boys who chose Chelsea? Is it the lure of Pochettino over Klopp, or is it the lure of London over Liverpool?
The
London.
checkbook.
The checkbook. The checkbook.
Clearly is.
Really?
London as well is a big factor,
London
isn't it,
is, yeah,
Steve?
of course.
Yeah.
For the foreign lads more so than even the English or Irish lads. We don't really care where we live, to be honest with you.
This will actually sound even, I suppose, more damning. Probably the wives and the partners in as well. It's London.
Yeah, well, we've
know?
heard that before.
Yeah.
Where the wives would I'd rather go to London than Liverpool or Manchester.
Yeah,
kind of
like
thing.
you'll flick on the match last night again, Manchester Lash and Rain.
Yeah.
So there's all that with the Northwest, like, so obviously the London thing is a massive factor. I think as well though, from Liverpool's point of view, and obviously on the football side of things, looking at the game Sunday, and I thought they were decent, but there's no protection in front of that back four. Like, they're literally crying out. And it's not like Van Dijk 3 years ago, 4 years ago can deal with situations 1v1. Like, he needs cover protection. He's not the same as what he was.
Kept slashing at things with Van Dijk.
Trent is coming in as that inverted midfielder, so they're nearly playing with a 3 at times. And you'd normally have Fabinho or whoever it is that's sitting. Like McAllister, who I love, brilliant signing, great player, but he's just that way. Like, there's nothing.
He's not a defensive midfielder.
No, and to be fair to him. And the other lad, Szoboszlai, who's a brilliant player, great signing. So them two in midfield are excellent, but they need a Casado beside them in the middle.
Yeah.
So I think Liverpool, for all their strengths and going forward, Salah, Diaz coming back, Núñez, Gakpo, and they played quite well. Out of possession, they're
Both teams to score for them this year.
out.
Yeah, that's
Will
the
be a
best.
They'll
good
score a
bet,
bucket
like,
load,
let's
but they
say
can
that,
see
man.
the bucket load.
Yeah.
Stephen, just on Jurgen Klopp, there's been one or two kind of rumblings. They're saying that they reckon this could be near the end of his time at Liverpool. But what's happened over the last couple of days, especially, and going forward, I suppose it's a very, very important couple of weeks now. They have to get the CDM in, or two of them in. What's your opinion on Klopp and how long he'll stay around?
Listen, I'm a big fan of Klopp. I think that he's had some difficult times the last 18 months, but overall picture, he's done a good job. Be careful what you wish for sometimes. I think they do need some signings to come in. Both Man United and Liverpool will be in for the same players, probably.
We'll come to them.
Holding
in a moment,
midfielders, it's wide open in front of Liverpool's back four. Van Dijk is not as mobile as he is. So going back to Klopp, I think he's got a big season ahead.
In terms that you mentioned Trent there, Al, are Liverpool better off maybe signing a new right full rather than a midfielder?
Someone say Vladimir Sufal. Oh no, sorry. Sorry. No, but they do need a right back.
100%.
Yeah.
I thought that a long time ago. Like, obviously they've made the move now and putting him in more kind of in as that, like, it's fashionable now to put your full back into that central midfield area. You know, he's capable of doing that. But I would bite the bullet and actually make him a midfielder rather than, as you say, be the right full and going in there. So if you had a steady right full, Kufal or whoever it is, like, that's a steady right full, no problem. And then you can get him higher up the pitch. You don't have to worry as much about things in behind. Because we all know the worst thing for me about Trent is not that he can't defend, it's that he doesn't want to defend.
Right.
So
he
if
doesn't
you
have that even instinct.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not in him, is it?
Yeah, so whatever about a fella who you're right full and he's playing against Stephen as a winger and he's going by him and you're saying, well, your man's not great defensively. The fella is standing in front of Stephen going, I don't even want to be here. I don't even want to try and defend.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a bigger worry.
And you
for
know,
me.
as a winger, this fella doesn't care.
Yeah.
He does care, but he ain't going to be switched on to danger. And that's the biggest advantage.
Whereas you
for a
often
winger.
hear the phrase about fellas who love to defend. They're out and out defenders and they pride themselves on that. Trent is more just, again, forward, offensively, assists, crosses.
Because even if
and
he gives
great
away
player.
a goal, he'll think I'll set one up
Yeah.
10 minutes later again, so I'll be fine.
So maybe they do need to sign a right full, but that's been a glaring issue, Eric, for a long time now. And they haven't addressed it.
So moving on to Chelsea then, new look team, new manager. Wasn't a bad start. They've got some terrific players there. Pochettino, do you think he is definitely the man for Chelsea and he'll turn it around for them?
Yeah, I love Pochettino as well. Ever since the job that he did at Spurs, and more so in terms of what he gets out of them kind of on a human level. You hear an awful lot about that nowadays as well. Like managers that used to manage with an iron fist, he's the opposite. Put your arm around him, get the best out of him, whatever the case. Now, I still think he'd be tough and stern in
tough,
in situations. But I mean, and like you go back to that Dele Alli interview and he raved about just how good Pochettino was to him. And you think of that Spurs team, they were amazing, like playing for him. So I think Chelsea, with the young players and the young talent that's there, he's perfectly suited for that. Looking at them again at the weekend, I thought they were very good. Now, I don't think they're very good in terms of the money that's been spent. You look at that team on paper and think 700-800 million. Where's the world-class superstars? But again, the world we live in nowadays, I thought the money was mad for Enzo, but he was very good at the weekend.
Yeah.
You bring in another 100 million fella, Casado. If you just take the money out of it, actually them as players on paper, it looks very strong and very, very good. So I think Chelsea will be much stronger with him at the helm, and I actually think they'll break into the top 4.
I think Sanchez is an excellent signing for him. I think he's a bit of an iffy character off the pitch, the goalkeeper, but at 25 million, he was getting touted 50, 70 million before he got left out of the Brighton team. I don't think he was left out of the Brighton team for ability, more to do with good attitude and where you go from it, if you know what I mean. So I think he'll be a good signing for him. And they've struggled keeper-wise for the last few years, especially playing out from the back. He's very comfortable on the ball.
And overall, you think Chelsea will be much stronger and make possible top 4 contenders this season?
No, I think they'll finish 5th or 6th, but I think that'll be from where they were last year and where they have to get to. I think it's a good season for them. It sounds really harsh, but they haven't bought for this year. They haven't bought proven out and out world class. Casido, I think, is the best one. Even he's cost over 100 million.
I know. I still think they're in the mix for that top 4.
In the mix, but I think they'll finish 5th, 6th.
All right, to throw something out there then as well, like given the
we'll have a Kelly's bread on it.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry,
is that the fancy stuff?
Fancy stuff.
Sourdough. Given the way Chelsea's run at the moment, and it does seem to be a bit of a Sky Sports circus show at the moment, like, you know, and Todd Bowley's just throwing money and throwing money and throwing. Doesn't seem to be any plan. Like, is it conceivable that Poch could be gone if the results aren't right? Do you think they could do a Wolves and Watford and just get rid of their managers if they don't get the results very quickly?
I don't get that vibe from the backroom team in terms of Paul Winstanley, Lawrence Stewart. They're all very football orientated people. They know what they've bought in terms of young players, so they're not going to expect results straight away. So I wouldn't expect them to be gone. I think where they were at last season, I actually felt really sorry for Lampard. I went to one of their games. For where they played on Sunday, they were excellent. So they've made good strides. It should be positive now for Chelsea.
What's the difference between this season's Chelsea and last season's Chelsea?
New manager, players chucking in.
Pretty obvious, I suppose.
Yeah, just putting a shape and a structure on them. That's what was missing last year. It was almost like a free for all. There was players coming, and to be fair to Lampard, there was probably players coming in the door, and every day he was saying, "Who's this fella?" It did become a circus.
And they found a heart. They didn't try a leg the last 10 games,
and that should be labelled at them. They were a disgrace last year, their professionalism. Whereas now they have a manager that they know if you don't turn up, good luck. And he's obviously got the nucleus of the squad that he wants. He's weeded off the ones that he doesn't want. Caicedo will be a massive addition, bar the money, which my feelings on the money nowadays. But take that out of it, and just him as a player, excellent player. He'd be a big addition to that team. And I love Pochettino, brilliant manager. So they will definitely 100% are in the mix for that top 4. And I have tipped them to get into the top 4.
Moving on then to last night's game, Manchester United sat down very excited, looking forward to the new season, and scabbed a 1-0 win and absolutely robbed Wolves of at least a point. We all saw the penalty that wasn't given. It should have been a penalty, and I, as a Man United fan, I have no problem saying that. It was a stonewall penalty. Actually, when the incident happened and Onana went up, I was so disgusted. I went, and I went up to the toilet to have it, to go to the toilet, and came back down, expected to see the Wolves player taking the penalty, and my son went, "They haven't even checked it." And I was like, "What?" And he was coming over to the sideline, and he thought he was coming over to check the screen. He was coming over to book Gary O'Neill for protesting, and you could understand why Gary O'Neill was very upset. I suppose the question here, lads, is it too soon to judge? It is too soon, I suppose, to judge Man United. Have they been overhyped? Have they signed in the right areas, or do they still need more bodies in there? Stephen?
I'm going to go, I think the manager's going to come under pressure the first 10, 15 games. I don't think he has that Klopp arm around. He had a go at Maguire last night for no reason. He's answering questions quite easily to the press, playing the game. I'm not too sure they have a team to compete to get in top 4 this year. Last night, it's easy to say today after that, but generally I'm not too sure to do it. They haven't got a centre forward yet. In my opinion, they've signed a centre forward, but there's a big ask, big question.
No guarantees there.
No guarantees. So they're on the edge, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Onana,
either way.
What about Onana, making the change in the way they play? And
I like him.
Yeah, I like him as well.
Yeah.
I was impressed with him last night. I thought he was, apart from that madness moment at the end, I thought he was very composed, and he made the saves he had to make. And by the way, Wolves had more shots on goal at Old Trafford since Chelsea did in 2005. That's nuts.
Watching the game last night, and as Stephen said there, not judging it off the game last night, the predictions beforehand, I didn't have United in the top 4. I just don't see it. It's obviously blatantly obvious now looking at them last night that I definitely don't have them in the top 8 at home. That's a joke. With the top 4, yeah. And on the signings, Onana's a good keeper, but I don't think he did anything that was out of the ordinary that De Gea wouldn't have done. But he is a good sign. I think he'll strengthen them, that's fine. But it's the areas all over the pitch that they need strengthening, not just the goalkeeper. I'd worry about Wan-Bissaka. I know people have said he's improved, but he's probably improved from where he was, which still doesn't lead me to believe he's a Kyle Walker or he's top class. The midfield was an absolute shambles last night. Casemiro looked like a fella who's going to play in the charity hurling for cancer next week with Stephen.
These cheeks are getting bigger.
He couldn't move. No mobility, can't move. Like we spoke about Liverpool having no defensive midfielder. Casemiro, who's been a phenomenal player, as we know, but if you can't get around the pitch, you're struggling, because you have Fernandes who wanders all here, there and everywhere, vacates so much space. You have Mount. To be fair to Mount, he's trying to be the one to get into the box, but then he's having to run another 40, 50, 60 yards to get back. Tough ask on him as well. And Wolves all night just powering through the middle, like straight through the middle.
Yeah, man, Cunha just kept running at them.
But
you couldn't cope with them.
And waltzing through them, like, you know, so I would have serious concerns. I thought United were a shambles last night. Rashford, not through the middle for me, never, always play off the left. Garnacho struggled, young, exciting player. Terrible last night.
Maybe not ready to start just yet.
And you know my feelings on Anthony. I wouldn't have him anywhere near the place. And he's
I seen. Did you tweet about? I'd swap Neto.
Yeah, Neto's class.
100% Neto is twice the player he is.
Yeah,
I tell you why. He was really good 18 months ago, Neto.
He got an injury.
Injury. And I spotted it in pre-season. I went, he's back to himself.
Looks sharp.
Strong. He's got no tape on his legs. I know that sounds really pathetic, but he's taking that tape off for a reason, because he eventually feels injury free and able to move it, and he looks that way. Like.
Serious pace as
then
well.
they bring on Eriksen. I love Eriksen being a phenomenal player, but you're just adding more kind of non-legs to that midfield. I thought United, like, and Stephen's right. You think of Gary O'Neill, who came in, and I disrespected him last week by tipping him to go down. Gary O'Neill, who did a brilliant job at Bournemouth, he's only in the door 4 days, and the team looked like he's been with them 4 years. Ten Hag is there, how long? Is it 18 months, 2 years, whatever it is that he's there now? And it looked like a fella who just arrived yesterday.
It's just still a disjointed.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Is there an argument, though? Is there an argument to say, in defence of Ten Hag, that it is only the first game and it's, you know, after a long pre-season? You mentioned Eriksen there. Eriksen did an interview last week with MUTV where he said, look, we love doing the tours and all that, but way too much travelling.
Yeah.
And he said it was way too much travelling. Like all around America, they went in the space of like 10 days or whatever. And that has to have an effect on your body. When you remember going back to pre-season, Stephen, at the start of a new season, is there a time maybe in the first where you feel a little bit flat, your legs feel a bit heavy? Is there ever the case of overtraining maybe?
No, well, overtraining before I go back was my problem. I used to train like a salt. My first year at Premier League, I was pushing cars in GA fields and everything. And literally.
You're a Premier League footballer pushing cars in GA fields.
My first season going into the Premier League, Kevin Doyle and I, we trained like
Before
you put that extra bit in.
Before we went back, thinking to myself, right, we're going to be ready for this. And then day 5, pulled my calf just from overtraining. But it didn't take me long, a week to get back, and I was right back up to it. But I went to China with Palace, and that coming back, just getting used to not travelling around the place, settling down again, it does take it out of you. But listen, these worldwide football now, you have to go on these trips. And
he might have a point, to be fair, because it is hectic, like obviously that period, and they're trying to cram everything in, and obviously it's a PR marketing thing, as we know. But I don't think you can basically say that was the reason for the performance last night. Performance last night was dreadful.
It was horrible.
Like, it was really bad. Like, and I like Ten Hag, and he's done a good job since he's come in. But I just look at the business that they've done, and when you think of the players that the other clubs are signing, and United are just not in the market for these players. Like, you'd like, I'm not sure where
maybe
it's
they're
going.
playing with the rules, Al.
Well,
maybe they're
no, maybe they're playing by the owner doesn't want to spend. I'm selling.
And like
up.
the only ones we've spoken about so far are Liverpool, Chelsea, and United, and like we haven't even got to Arsenal and City yet.
Yeah,
they're up here.
Yeah,
Liverpool and Chelsea are there. Man United are somewhere down here. Like,
how
that's the reality
have
of it.
Arsenal? Well, having a structure in place, gone from here to here in a year and a half, shouldn't happen. There was too much of a gap for that to happen, but they've all let him come back into it.
Is Ten Hag? I suppose it is the second season.
But
Ten
it's
Hag,
his first game.
But he will be. He will be under pressure, though, won't he?
Oh, I think this year, I said it last night before the match, that this is in terms of what you're looking for from Man United, I think it's a big year for him. You can't just come in and say, oh, we'll give you 18 months and 2 years. He's 2 years there now at Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, regardless of who they're signing or who they're not signing. He's the manager. There has to be accountability. If he's not getting into the top 4 again this year and winning a cup again, or like And whatever about doing that, if the performances are good, if you're not doing that and the performances are like they were last night, well then he's in for...
The performances last year were never that good. They were always just did enough to win a game. They were never mind-blowing any stage, you know.
And a few of these are his signings now, Eric.
Yeah.
Like when he came in first, you're kind of saying when he inherited this and he has to get rid of some of the deadwood. And to be fair, he's trying that. Like he obviously wants Maguire out and get money in. I understand that. And it's difficult because he's on big money, Maguire, to probably get him out at the moment. But Anthony, he signed him. Onana now he signed. Mount was his signing. This lad Hoyland. So like it's his team now.
Yeah, it really is. You mentioned who's you mentioned there? You mentioned a couple of players there for a minute. There was Maguire, yes. The news before we came into the podcast, the news breaking that the deal's off with West Ham.
Oh, really?
That that West Ham now they're saying like the guy Ornstein does a bit of work for West Ham, but he's a Guardian reporter as well, and he says the talks have stalled because it's taken too long. Even though he's agreed personal terms with West Ham, it's taken too long for Maguire to exit the United, and apparently he's looking for a payoff from United of like 6 or 7 million quid. And that's what's stalling it. But Stephen, as you're in your role as an agent, do you think this might be a little agent tactic to force Man United's hand?
I think Maguire has been a good pro. I think he's behaved himself well the last year and a half, being patient. He's England captain at certain times, so he has a right to feel like he should be playing. I think they'll have to pay him the money to go, yeah.
Do you think that's what will happen?
If he's losing out on wages and he's 70 grand short on what's being reported, then he's going to need 5 or 6 million.
But the 70 grand short, Stephen, right?
Yeah.
This is my take on Maguire. I think Maguire needs to get out of the building for his own sake, not for anyone else's, for Man United or West. For his own sake, he needs to go right now, book a taxi down the road to West Ham and sign and just play football. If he's getting, say it's 270 grand a week.
But he's 120 apparently.
Difference?
No, he was on 170 at United, and if it's 100 grand a week, he's been offered by West Ham.
Okay.
Put it into then the 70 grand short, obviously.
Yeah, so if that's the case, with every short, right, he's a multi-millionaire.
So United will pay him the length of his contract he has left, the 70 grand.
Yeah,
right.
So if you run that, if he goes, signs at West Ham on a 5-year deal, gets a big sign-on fee, and he's on 100 grand a week, right, on top of all the money he's earned so far, like, what's the problem? And if Maguire goes down to Man United tomorrow and you're saying it's 6 million he wants, go in and say, look, I'll take 4 and I'll be gone and just done. And this stuff annoys me so much. Like
when they already have loads of money.
Yeah, and like for his own sake in terms of playing football, he needs to play. He's getting ridiculed left, right, and centre. Like he needs to get out a fresh start somewhere new. Money is irrelevant in that regard.
I don't think he'd want to lose the West Ham deal because I can't see a better prospect of a move right now for him in terms of unless he's going to go to a Liverpool and play and all of a sudden shocks the world, but that's
West
not
Ham's a
happen.
good move for him.
West Ham's a good move.
But I mean, you look at we're talking about the teams like Newcastle and Villa at the weekend, and Mings went down with it looks like a season-ending injury.
Well, this is the thing. There's 2 weeks to go in the window.
Yeah.
And Eric, what he's going through at the moment for the last 18 months and 2 years, being absolutely ridiculed, to come to Dublin and people booing him in a friendly.
That's wrong too, by the way.
That was wrong.
Horrible.
Yeah. We said that, but for all that to take place, anywhere's a good move.
Yeah.
He needs to get out. He has to get out and play and start afresh and clear his mind of all. Like, they don't want him. Nobody wants him at Man United.
So I've always learned, right? So these French lads that come over are European boys that come to England. They don't go anywhere without a penny. So Maguire's doing this. They know they're gone back to France and they'll never be seen again. They're gone back to France's heart. European. This English lad, he goes, well, I'm 70 grand short. You're getting 30 million. You can give me 6. I've been a good pro. I've been a good servant.
But take 5, Stephen.
Yeah, take 5.
Why would you haggle over that?
They've probably said 8.
Oh, we don't know what the actual figures are in the background.
The point I'm trying to make, regardless of the figures, we don't know the exact. The point I'm trying to make is it shouldn't be about money. He's a multi-millionaire. He needs to clear his head and just get out and play. He can't be sitting on a bench at Man United. Like even last night, Martinez went off and he brought on Lindelof. So he doesn't want him. The manager doesn't want him.
Well, he's commenting on Maguire last night for no need. Should be dismissing that kind of comment. And he went, no.
What was the comment, Stephen? I didn't hear that.
I read it on the way up. It was a little bit along the lines of, well, he's here.
He needs to fight for his
He needs
place
to fight
or
for his
leave.
place or believe in himself or leave, pretty much.
Right.
And I'm going, wow. Why are you even commenting? He wasn't even playing. Just leave.
Unless he was asked the question, Stephen.
If he's asked the question,
yeah,
he's not
leave
answer
it alone, right?
If you say to me, I don't have to answer it, do I? I can pat you off like a little bit.
He seems like a very obliging press conference bloke.
And to be fair to Maguire, Stephen, he's made the point and he's right. He has been a good professional. He's not there in the background causing trouble and do.
And he has seen the Ronaldos come in, and cause the trouble.
Let the fella go, and
do the humane
pay
thing.
him up and go.
But from his point of view, just
no, I get it from his point of view.
Like he should be haggling over $1 million or whatever.
He'll go from. hero to zero, zero to hero in a week, because he'll play for West Ham next week or whoever he goes to and be the best player. Because he will go and do well, Maguire. He's a good player.
Well, then, just do it.
As the news was breaking about that before the podcast, my brother was the one who messaged me and he says, Maguire move is off. And he said that his mate texted him to say, he's like the T-1000, he cannot be killed. I love that. You can have that for the cut down, lads. I suppose we'll move on to Arsenal at the weekend. Kind of, I suppose, limped over the line in the end with a 2-1 win against Forest. Your impressions of Arsenal first day?
Yeah, they did limp. They made hard work for towards the end. Obviously, Forest scored, and it was a bit of a kind of nervy ending, but I still think they're very, very strong, Arsenal. They were my tip at the start. We're only a game in. And I do think, looking at what we've seen over the weekend, I think they will be the only ones to maybe challenge City still.
Okay. Stephen, did you see the game?
I seen the game. I liked their way they played, their mentality to win the game. It's not easy. The first game of the season is never easy. I love Saka. I think he's just a breath of fresh air to the game. Goes and enjoys himself.
Brilliant.
Smile on his face. Works up, works down. Has some
rubbish. No Instagram shite. Just gets on and just does his stuff. Brilliant player.
Yeah, brilliant. And I like the signing Raya. I don't particularly rate Raya, but a lot of people do. I think he's come in to compete with Ramsdale based on his football ability and Arsenal wanting to get better. A lot of money to spend on a second choice goalkeeper, but I think he'll threaten Ramsdale.
But they have two very strong keepers.
And he wants competition for all the places, which is a good thing. That breeds kind of obviously for the rest of them.
And it's not a position you need to strengthen. You can get away with it if you think he's going to.
Because Ramsdale has done well, to be fair.
Yeah, he's not done anything wrong.
But again, it's just to make Ramsdale feel there's a fella knocking on the door here. You better. You need to perform every week. The only downside for them was obviously the injury to Timber. Because he is a good signing as well, very good signing. Again, along the lines of strengthening for each position. So that's a blow. Like, I think he did his ACL, did he?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, I mean, Timber, like, he got the injury and he slowly fell down. Everyone went, Timber. But anyway, sorry, I was waiting for that moment.
You've waited a while for that.
When were you thinking of that one?
Just as you mentioned, it was going, Timber falling over tree. Great, what a great shoe in. But anyway, ACL injury, it looks like. Tyrone Mings as well. And you did a tweet at the weekend, Stephen. Like, already there's a lot of ACL injuries.
Where's this fitness coach from Dublin? What's his name? The one in the All-Ireland?
Philly McMahon.
Where is he? Not him.
Philly's actually training my son at the moment, doing one-on-one training with him. Yeah.
But like, these sports scientists, what are they getting paid for? To tell people. See, no sports scientist will ever go into a director of football.
Tweet? I didn't see it.
I just thought, like, are they going to stick up for these players or not? Like, it's all the players are coming out saying we've been overplayed, we're playing games, and the minutes are too much. It is.
I'll tell you what Stephen's tweet was. Already too many ACL injuries for this time of the year. Players' voices can be heard from the very top level, but where are the fitness gurus of today's world meant to look after the players? Expand on this for Stephen. Expand.
Good tweet.
Yeah,
Stephen,
because the fitness coaches are there to keep the players fit. So why aren't they coming out and saying, or why aren't they expressing their interest to the FA, Premier League, whoever it is, to say, listen, we're training, we're overplaying. They're playing too many games now, footballers. There's no doubt about it.
So do you think the ACLs is down to them being overworked?
I'd like to hear Philly McMahon and these boys that have actually.
Because the one with Mings, I was watching the game live. It's just a really nasty, awkward fall.
It was like a hyperextension, wasn't it?
Oh, it was horrible.
And I text Mingsy, to be fair, saying, listen, get your head up, lad. It happened. He's had an ACL before, so he's been there.
But it wasn't diagnosed as an ACL. They're just saying knee surgery. Is it confirmed?
This is the thing, right? They've all started saying a major knee surgery. Just tell us an ACL, Jesus. It's not bad, is it?
They haven't said that, no, to be fair.
So no, and that's not the only club. There's been 2 or 3 other clubs that have had serious knee injuries. It's an ACL, obviously.
And, of course, Buendia, during the week as well. He did it.
Yeah.
Now, they have said it was an ACL with him.
Yeah.
So he's a massive blow. And even you look at Villa at the weekend, and there was a lot of hype and talk about them and Emery, and we discussed it, and a great manager. But the team I'm going to mention, Eric, the most impressive team I watched this season, this weekend, Newcastle. Electric.
And just before we go on to Newcastle, Courtois, Militao, both ACL injuries now as well.
Yeah.
For Real Madrid. And it was Varane who made the big comment there last week.
That's what I said, top player.
Top player, yeah. And it was like a cry for help.
Well, you'd love the De Bruyne one. I know it's not an AC, but he's complaining of his knee, something that flared up.
I blame the manager for that. He hasn't played any games pre-season and he's chucked them straight in.
Yeah, he hasn't, you're right. He played.
Oh, did he not play pre-season?
His first appearance was the Community Shield.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Last appearance, Community Shield. And first, that's too much, like.
Yeah.
Against a high-energy Burnley team.
You mentioned.
I'm disagreeing with Pep I need to get
What does he know?
I need to get a reality check.
Mark it
Slap
down.
myself.
He's disagreeing with Pep.
You mentioned Newcastle, Al. So tell me, does Jason Tyndall's Newcastle, are they the real deal? Did you see Klopp even having a go?
No.
Klopp was asked about the new rules in the press conference there yesterday. It was the day before. About only one coach in the technical area allowed to move forward. And he said, He said, the only people I could see that being a problem for is Newcastle. And
everyone's on it, isn't it? Everyone. Sure, he has his own Twitter account, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But was it you telling us, Stephen, he's a good lad?
Yeah. No, it was
It wasn't me.
Damien
No.
Delaney.
Damien
Lying to make friends again.
No, Damien said he was a good lad because
Yeah.
I think it's bonkers, this fella. He's front and centre.
He's
I'm
everywhere,
like,
isn't
sit
he?
down, will you,
I
Jason?
know.
But all the players
He got
apparently
the
love him.
attention he deserved, and now he's probably gone.
Milks it. He absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
But Eddie Howe was asked, we've discussed this before anyway. Sorry, Eric, go on.
No, come on, you're impressed with Newcastle.
Unbelievable. I thought they were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Newcastle. And again, you go back to all the talk about like foreign managers, foreign coaches. Eddie Howe, absolutely amazing the job that he's done. Haven't spent stupid money either. Brought in really key signings. And what I love about it as well, like I almost feel nowadays when people are making signings that because there's so much money, it's like a kid going into a sweet shop and wanting everything instead of just going and say, well, I don't have that lollipop, I'll just get that one.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Newcastle go in and they go exactly for the players that want to fit the system, the personnel, the way to play, the energy, that kind of high octane, non-stop running. Harvey Barnes, brilliant signing. Yeah. Tonali, unbelievable. Tonali was at the weekend. So I think Newcastle, like I was unsure about them as top four before the start of the season because of obviously they did so well and kind of maintained that now with the Champions League. After the weekend, they're the best I watched all weekend. They were unbelievable against a good Villa team.
A very good Villa team. Your impressions of Newcastle, Stephen, and also I suppose the way they're doing business. Like as an agent, you'd know how are Newcastle doing business
I think they're
behind
very
the scenes?
shrewd. I think there's Dan
Ashworth
is the key behind it. I think he's very calm, very structured in his way. That'll lead down to he's head of recruitment and scouts, and I think it's a well-oiled machine now. He's had 2 years, maybe 18 months in there. I remember dealing with Dan at Brighton, and I was like, wow, you are.
Dan was the man at Brighton, so all the praise Brighton are getting now, he was the one that started the ball rolling back there.
Ball rolling, like so. And again, you look at him, he's just calm, constructive in his ways. He doesn't talk down to anyone. He's just very, very strong-minded individual, and obviously that's leading through.
There's a clip on YouTube. It's about an 8.5, 9 minute interview he did one morning they played on the Saturday morning on the BT Sport channel it was, and the interview Jake Humphrey and whoever the pundits interviewed Dan Ashworth, 9 minutes, well worth your time.
And do you know
9
what?
minutes of just exactly as Stephen, just structure, very calm in his approach, clear identity in terms of kind of clarification, what they want to do, what they're trying to achieve. And now he's gone to Newcastle, and all the focus on Eddie Howe, and rightly so. He has to coach the players, but
exactly,
it's
the
coming from
focus is on Eddie Howe. He takes the pressure. He's the manager. He just gets on with his work in the background. Doesn't do many interviews.
Never.
But when he does, wow, you speak well. So.
And I suppose it's become such an important role in modern football, hasn't it? Like I mean, like Carragher was saying last night, he was bemoaning the fact that Liverpool are on their fourth director of football within 2 years.
Yeah, whereas he was saying the problems are the fact that they got rid. Was it Michael Edwards? He said was the man.
Yeah.
Who was.
And then another fella came in. He was gone. Huh? Yeah, it was Julian Ward was the guy who took over then. And then there's this German lad
for 6 months. He was.
He's in for the summer and then he's gone.
You can't have that.
Like that's obviously, and then now Liverpool are making a balls of the transfer market at the moment. Like and maybe that's the reason.
And it's no coincidence, Eric, like that they're making a balls up when you have a fella coming in like. In filling in a gap for 6 months. Like if you're trying to run like any business, you wouldn't have a fella coming in for 6 months trying to put the shape and structure on it.
I can't wait for the 100 million bid from a Saudi club for Dan Ashworth. Get him in there.
But no, so out of all the teams, obviously we've gone through a few of them there. Newcastle, unbelievable. Isaac as well, 60 million was it paid for him?
I think they
looks electric.
Yeah, I think they've managed the first weekend's expectations really well, and like he's got a hard job psychologically to get them players back up to where they were last year and overachieve again to a certain degree. But it's a long season. When the Champions League comes, how do they manage then? How do they cope with all them games?
Bruno Guimaraes, brilliant signing. Obviously, they brought him in. Tonali, like that's what I'm saying. Like even United, like were they not in for Tonali? A player like that crying out for centre midfielder.
Casido United as well for me could.
Is are Newcastle contenders?
I didn't think that they would be. And I never had them down as contenders. But based on, and you can't judge it over one weekend, but based on what they achieved last year, it looked like they've picked up where they've left off and probably got a bit better. I think top 4 again would be amazing for them. I don't see them as contenders, Eric, but I think top 4 from where they've come from to where they are now, I think that's massive. That'd be unbelievable.
And obviously the caveat is they will be playing Champions League football, so it
That's
will
the
put
big
a
test
strain
for them.
on the squad.
Gary Neville made a great point last night about the Champions League. That remember they got to the cup final last year and their form dipped. Because when they were all just Premier League, and then all of a sudden you're in the cup final and they're like this looking at the cup final and they took their eye off the ball. And with the Champions League, he said that's obviously it's going to be such a massive occasion. We know the way their fans are so passionate. Them games are going to be like cup finals every Wednesday night and up there. It's going to be amazing. Will their eyes kind of just go a little bit like that towards and that was a good point, to be fair. So that will be the big question for them this year. But in terms of starts, unbelievable at the weekend. They were brilliant.
So the other big story of the last week or so was something we said wouldn't happen. Harry Kane went to Bayern. He went to Bayern. Al, you got that wrong. And where's your Japanese tip for the World Cup, by the way? Anyway, sorry, we'll move on. Spain as well, yeah. Harry Kane gone to Bayern.
Worse.
It works.
No, worse again. Madison's taking the number 10 shot.
The captain's armband already. The captain's armband already.
No, let's go to Harry Kane.
Madison, he will take them to the glory that they want to be.
I was impressed with Madison the other day.
Great player.
Yeah, he was very good.
Don't mind this fella. Madison's electric.
Talk to me about the Bayern move. Did it make sense for all parties? Was it the right thing? Harry Kane?
Let's be honest about it. No one thought he'd go to Bayern Munich, but in football in terms, when you arrive at Bayern Munich, I think you go, wow. So he's obviously been there.
Yeah.
He's obviously gone out there secretly at some stage, had a look around, got a feeling for it, gone, right, let's go. His family were reported to have been over there a couple of weeks ago. For sure they'd have went to have a look, do you know what I mean? So he's there. He's going to score 30 plus goals, just won't beat Alan Shearer's
I can't
record.
believe it, Eric. Honestly, you're saying there that I absolutely got it wrong. I was adamant, as you know, that there wasn't a hope in hell. And the only reason being, and I think Raymond Vega, remember him?
Yeah.
He tweeted last week, Raymond Vega, and he was dead right, saying the amount of disrespect shown to a great club like Bayern Munich from the English pundits and people, you know. And he was right. So I was never critical of Kane going there as if it's a step backwards or sideways. It's a step up. Yeah. As Stephen said, Bayern Munich, a monster of a European club. Just the only reason I was adamant that he was never going to go was because he was so close to Shearer's record. And I was like, I can't believe for 1 second he would go. Even see out your contract at Spurs, score another 20 goals this year, then go to United, go wherever next year for the last 2 or 3 years, or stay at Spurs and break the record.
Yeah.
The only thing now that he is gone and he's there, and obviously we have to deal with that, is winning a Bundesliga won't matter a jot, I don't think, in terms of his legacy, because they're going to win them anyway. But if he was to go and win a Champions League with them, and they will be in the mix, that's a different story, to be fair. Then he can look back and say, I went for the right reasons and I'm after winning the Champions League. So he's there now. I can't believe he's there. I watched the new look Spurs without him. It was weird on Sunday. And Richarlison is definitely not the replacement.
No.
And to be fair to Ange, who I think has had a really good pre-season, this has been lumped on him. I'd say he knew in the background.
He did say in his pre-match or post-match interview that his first day of training, he met with Harry Kane. Harry Kane said he was going to leave. So he knew from day one.
Okay, so
you'd like no illusions.
So you'd like to think, because he's been really impressive, Ange, since he's gone in. I really like him, and the way to play, you can already see the new identity of Spurs, if you like, in the way to play. But surely, if that's the case, and that was maybe 8 weeks ago, that the planning is well underway, and that there's a bid coming for
whoever.
Who? That's the problem.
Oh, I know who, but I hope it's not the young kid that we all love.
No, he needs to stay upright for another year at least.
Well, I think they will bid, because there's going to be a daft. The way the market is, I think there's a daft bid coming somewhere. Now, the only thing with Postecoglou, I don't think he's into the daftness and the stupid money. I think he's very shrewd. We obviously seen that at Celtic, going back to Japan and bringing the players in from there. So I think he's shrewd. He won't just go out and throw money at it. He'll try and pick the right fella. Something like what I was saying Newcastle do. But I fear that there's going to be a stupid bid coming from somewhere for our kid.
But they won't accept the Brighton.
No, and I don't think he'll go either.
Yeah.
No,
and why would he go? He's been managed really well at the moment.
Yeah, and he sees some good people around him as well who'll be advising him, no, stay here, learn your trade.
Yeah,
Under the Zerbi as well.
100%, and he will stay. And he got off to a great start, as we know. But I do think someone will come in with a stupid bid, purely because the way he's been talked up, not even off the back of last season, just off one weekend.
I just can't wait to see the gold-plated showers in Dalymount Park. Really looking forward to that.
The
And
gold
Sir-
plated seat for you in the standard.
What, have they not improved it with the 2 million they got from Matt Doherty? Have they spent much money on it?
They did. They got a lovely chip van in, and the
So,
mono
10
stamp was
grand.
built.
If you get the gold plate
Yeah,
seat,
where's
in
that
Daily
money
Mount,
gone?
right off that money, there better be a little seat for my Harry beside it.
you better
Where's the
believe
2
it.
million gone? Don't hide from it.
We
Don't
look
make
after it. What was
I,
that?
I know you're close with Bose. Don't hide it. Where's the 2 million gone?
What do you mean? Where's the 2 million gone? It's
How
gone into the
much
club
did they get from all that?
and the infrastructure.
The chip van, what else?
They got 1.2 million.
In the title
Yeah.
race this year, that's where it's gone.
Yeah, we're
They're in the
not
title.
too far off it now, Stephen. We're doing all right, but I still don't think we win
I'll
it.
leave it alone. then.
We'll go back to that in a little while. We'll stick to the Premier League for now.
Madison.
What?
Madison.
And Madison, yeah.
Let's
was
talk
good,
about
wasn't he?
Madison.
Again,
He's
United,
not top
I
14.
if I was United, that's why he'd be signing.
But he's a bit similar to Mount. Fernandez.
Better than Mount.
Yeah, he's better than Mount. Technically, he's better than Mount.
Is it a good thing for Postecoglou that Kane is gone now? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a fair question, and I think he is confident in his own ability that it won't knock any feathers out of Postecoglou. He already probably had a feeling going to Spurs. There's a good chance this fella might go. And on the flip side of that, now he has the money to hopefully. It's all right having money. It's how you spend it, as we know.
Yeah.
Spend it wisely, and I would like to think he is a manager that would spend it wisely. And he's still a serious players there. Like I looked at him at the weekend, and I thought there's the makings of a team. Not sure about the goalie. Obviously, his first game.
The Italian lads,
Yeah, the lad that signed from Empoli.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't sure about him. Romero, very good. The lad that signed from the Netherlands, Van de Meek, I thought was okay.
Mickey Van Ven or something.
Mickey Van Ven.
Where did they finish?
Odogi left full was good,
Yeah.
very good, exciting. Basuma has come back in, and if you remember, Basuma was the Casado before Casado.
Yeah.
Right, he was the star signing. Right, everybody wanted him. Spurs
Yeah.
paid the big money, and your man wouldn't play him. Conte. Now he has a manager that's mad about him, loves him, technically great,
And
best
he's
player
good.
on the pitch.
He was
Sunday.
outstanding at the weekend.
So if they were to skip, he's not up to it. He's Southampton, skip or Stoke. He's not Spurs or top four. So they need to get another centre midfielder in. And if they get a centre forward, and I know it's very hard to get a centre forward, where do you get them from? But they have money that they might be able to. I think there's the makings of a team there, and he'll do well. Postecoglou, I think he's a brilliant manager.
Madison debut at the weekend, 2 assists. Not bad. Not a bad start, Stephen.
No, good start. You know by him, technical wise, that free kick is going right in that area. 10 times out of 10, he's that good on free kick. So to deliver it into that area, just get him off and going. But again, they won't finish top 6.
You don't think so?
No, and I don't think Madison, as much as he can drag the team, I think they need more pace in the team. They struggle wide areas. I think Son's just a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Weighed
than
down
what
by
he
the
is.
armband maybe a little bit.
It'll help him for sure, but you could play him in the hole. With Madison, is 2 box 10s, which you can do sometimes. But I don't think they have enough pace in the team to hurt teams. Maybe I'm wrong.
So,
It'll depend massively on how to spend that money.
Yeah,
like, you
I
know.
agree.
And centre forwards are worth their weight in gold, as we know.
Yeah, I don't mind the Brazilian boy. I don't mind
Oh,
because
no, I wouldn't have him.
if you have a load of pace around him, I think it'll help. The
I just hate
Kulusevski.
his demeanour and everything about him. The sour puss.
Oh, he's got a Sarah Bus.
He's
like,
a Martial, isn't he? Like,
Yeah.
and I know it was hard for him last
He's an
year.
angry
Yeah,
Martial.
they paid the money. Yeah, they paid the money, and obviously he's always in Kane's shadow. It
Yeah.
might free him up, Eric. But I think Postecoglou's looking at him saying, "No, he's not the answer."
I think it's a tough game. Brentford away. Brentford are just.
Brentford, good team.
They're just every time I go, and I'm an expert Brentford player. I go, I think they'll struggle this year a little bit. I think. I just watch them again. I go, no chance.
no chance.
Brilliant
Energy,
manager.
So
like-
well drilled.
Brilliant
drilled.
manager.
And Nathan
Really
Collins
good.
obviously came in. I think Mee was injured or something or suspended. Collins
Yeah.
came in, made his debut.
Played well.
Did all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd wonder when Mee comes back, will he can step back
Yeah,
into
and I
the
think
team?
to be fair,
He's
Stephen
the
probably-
fans player of the year and all that.
Stephen might know Nathan better, but he needs to stay at the club now.
Yeah.
He's had 4 moves in 4 years or something.
Yeah.
Like he needs to go to Brentford now and stay there for 5 years and just play every week, or if you say me comes back, whatever, and establish himself.
Play
And
every 2 years. Play for 2 years and sell him for 60 million. Because everyone goes on about, he could win a Man United, he could go there. He's got a bit of a reputation inside the game.
I think
Collins, he needs to play games.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
my point. Don't be looking at Man United in 2
Yeah.
years or any of the big clubs. He needs to establish himself as a top Premier League defender. Do that for 3-4 years, and then
Go from there.
Because that is the word in the game, isn't it? Like he is highly thought of within the game.
Well, listen, he's got to move on the back of not playing for more money.
Yeah.
In a year, he hasn't played with Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, in 18 months they had him or whatever they had him, they've made 9-10 million on him. So that'll tell you there is good reputation. The stats
he's a
must
good
say-
player.
Yeah.
Like it's funny as well, Eric, and it's the beauty of football. The point there about so that Wolves sign him, don't play him every week. Or sorry, he was playing. He had that silly sending off. But then Lopetegui comes in, sees a completely different Nathan Collins to maybe what we see, doesn't play him, so that's fine. Then you have Bissouma, goes to Spurs. Everybody, but this Bissouma's a great. Conte comes in, not for me. Doesn't play him. Postecoglou comes in, mad about him. He's he's the number. Yeah. So that's the beauty of football. We all see it different. We all have our opinions. But I think with Nathan, I suppose with the move, and it's a really good move to go to Brentford. I think they're a really good team with a really good manager. Just keep the head down, establish yourself now 2 or 3 years, play as much as you can in a good team, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Stay out of the restaurants. West London's very tempting.
Is it really? Yeah?
Oh, it's a lovely place.
You know the place well.
Is West nicer than North?
Well, it's a lot nicer.
West is the posh. Is that the posh?
Yeah, it's
Chelsea, Fulham. A lot of easy.
Knightsbridge.
It's easy to go out and have food. At Harrods, it's easy to go have food. Stay out of it.
Where did you used to go and have food?
Loads, Zuma, loads of different places.
He's a centre half.
Exactly. Stay in.
Cats.
Yeah, but no. There is temptation. West London. Listen, you can't walk down the road without falling in love every 200 metres. So let alone do anything else. You got to have the blinkers on and behave yourself.
Falling in love every 200 metres. That's the quote of the season, Stephen.
Fair play to you. Spot, isn't it?
You'd be there, Al QPR. I saw it.
Brought me over. He looked after me. Best seats in the house. I had the gold-plated seat in QPR.
No way.
Sitting beside Les Ferdinand.
Oh, so Les is gone now.
And you know what Les says to me? Oh, son, Hanty got on to me.
Les likes a bit of Ireland, actually.
Les, nice man.
Yeah, good guy.
We go back to we're talking a lot about injuries, and there was one other significant injury at the weekend, and it was Kevin De Bruyne against Burnley in the opening game. They're not sure the prognosis. They're not sure how long he'll be out, but it's a recurrence of a hamstring injury. How much of a blow is that to City, and could it affect their title chances?
Yeah, well, we're only a day in. It depends on how long he's out for. But no matter how long he's out for, every week it has to affect you because he's their best player.
He's still the man that makes them tick.
100%. Because you look, even when he went off, Haaland's still making the runs, but the passes are not coming. Whereas when he's there, the passes do come. And he's a brilliant player. We all know that. He's one of the best that we'll probably win. When the Premier League finishes, he'll be looking back on these programmes to do and who was the best and all. He's right up there in terms of one of the best that's come in.
Yeah, one of the best ever Premier League players.
Yeah, he will be. He'll be remembered as that. Brilliant player. And this is the reason I went for Arsenal, because in one sense, it's brilliant what Guardiola does, not so much in how he coached them. We all know that's amazing and the way to play. But he works off a small squad in terms of quality, not quantity. So he will have 17, 18 top quality players rather than having 25, 26 fellas. But you get an injury. Stephen Kenny used to do the same at the Dock. I always remember even chatting to the lads about this. He used to get 16 first team players rather than having 23 made up of like 4 or 5 young lads and 2 or 3 lads who were not quite up to it. 16 first teamers fighting for the places every week and work off that. And that's all good and well if you keep them fit. But you get an injury to Haaland, now with De Bruyne, one of the big ones, it will affect you. It'll absolutely affect you. And that's why I just think with Arsenal, and maybe partly because I'm hoping that we do see a bit of a title race, but I do think City won't have it all their own way this year.
I think they'll go and get the boy at West Ham now, or they'll make every effort. Paqueta, whatever you want to presume.
What do you make of him?
I like him.
Yeah.
I think he can handle the ball in tight spaces. He's very flamboyant, very easy. He reminds me of the boy who's played, I want to test you here, for Spurs in midfield, Belgian boy.
Dembele.
Like, Moussa Dembele.
He's class.
Able to move the ball in tight spaces.
I'm not sure he's as powerful as Dembele.
He was a monster.
Yeah, he was.
I think he is.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's had a season with Moyes where, in difficult circumstances, they've won a Europa League, Conference League, whatever. But
he probably needs to sign someone, does he? Because they've only signed Vardy all.
Yeah, so I think they'll go all out for him. West Ham would have been rubbing their hands.
Like the big one for me this year, and I'm mad about him, is Foden. Like he's not. You can't just turn around now and say, "Oh, but he's still a young player. He's biding his time." He needs to play.
Yeah, he played him in the first game, didn't he?
Yeah, Foden's brilliant. So he can obviously stand in and play that role instead of De Bruyne as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the season he has. But I just think with City, and look, Eric, we know
Jack's still sober now. Don't forget,
they're amazing.
What's that?
Jack's still sober now.
They're amazing, and it's hard to pick holes in it. But Gundogan gone, Mahrez gone, big goals, assist with them two as well. So I'm not having City this year.
Okay, I can't wait to talk to you now in May when they've won it by 24 points.
Oh no!
And that could very well happen.
Yeah.
But the question you asked about De Bruyne, a massive loss, Eric.
In other non-Premier League news, I suppose, retaining an Irish interest, James McLean got his move to Wrexham. And I don't know about you, but I think it's a brilliant move for both parties, the club and for James himself. Your opinion, Steve?
Yeah, I think James at a stage where Wrexham's a good fit for him. I think financially, obviously, it'll fit better than most clubs right now. But I think the limelight you'll get, is it a good fit? Football-wise, is dropped down a division? Probably not. Is James McLean still good enough to play for Ireland? Yes, in terms of what's there at the moment and who's playing games. That'll probably change over the next year or so. He probably knows that himself. But Wrexham, he can go on a journey with him. The club's good, the structure is good, the manager's excellent. He'll enjoy the company of some of the Irish lads there as well.
Yeah,
so
actually, we had Owen O'Connell on an earlier episode, yeah.
Owen O'Connell, Tom O'Connor, the boy I look after.
Yeah.
He'll have,
hopefully.
hopefully.
That's why you tweeted about, or the penalty he took and he was so calm.
Oh my
God.
No emotion. No emotion, right? I was like, because 40, I used to play with Wolves. I said, like, just, that's what he is. You can't change him, how he is. He's just that level-headed all the time.
Ice in his
veins.
veins.
Cool, penalty, ice cool. Look
he
that
took
way.
the penalty, Eric, in a penalty shootout. And
Yeah.
just scored.
Nonchalantly. Brazilian like.
That's what I do.
Brazilian like Kilkenny guy that actually just strolled up. He took forever to get up. Like 40 said to me, we were just waiting for him to get there to take it, let alone take it and walk back. Like, so great.
Any thoughts yourself there?
On McLean?
Yeah,
I think it's a good move as well because obviously there's a lot of focus on Wrexham at the moment, but it'll be a tough ask for them to come up, no matter how much money or who to sign or whatever. It's always tough. They got humbled on the opening day. They got hammered 4-1, was it?
5-3. Yeah.
5-3.
Sorry, I turned it off 4-1.
It was all over anyway.
Was it 5-3?
Yeah,
Is that how
5-3.
it finished?
Yeah.
So, MK Duns,
yeah, and they've had a good start. MK Duns, a couple of Irish boys there as well. Dawson, the young winger lad that was at Pats. So I do think it's a good move for him. I suppose the question for him, and he probably feels it already, James, he knows he's coming to the tail end. Will it still get him into the Ireland squad? I'm not so sure. I think now those days could be behind him, and there's already a campaign. Now we're weak in that.
Because he got his 100 cap, and maybe he's thinking, right.
and like, what more can you top on that? Like, it's not like we're looking like qualifying for tournaments either. So if you take him out of that, and the left is quite weak for us at the moment, but there's a big campaign at the moment for Manning's had a good start at Southampton, and obviously the manager brought him from Swansea, and he's the one player that people are saying, well, how come Stephen doesn't pick him and all? Because Manning's done quite well, hasn't he, at championship level over the last.
I think Manning's got to be more engaging into being a team player. From the gist of it, he's got to go and be.
Is there something there, Stephen?
It's not quite right, is it? Let's be honest about it. But I think that's got to be Manning's personality, Manning's attitude to come in and go, right, be humble, be proud, go and do your stuff. Because when you play for Southampton or Swansea, he's by far our outstanding performance of players in terms of how he plays.
This is the thing. That's why it leads me to believe, because he's the type Stephen would love. An attack-minded fullback like that, gets forward, comfortable on the ball, technically very good. As Stephen said, he's had a great 18 months, 2 years with Swansea now.
Let's call it how it is.
So why is he not getting picked?
Yeah.
So there must be something going on in the background there.
100%.
Right. We'll be getting him on next week to find out what
actually
exactly is
on
going
James McLean. He can get some of the Irish lads in the gym, and because James is obviously good around the place. Stephen has him in the place.
And that's for the likes of Phil Parkinson as well. Bringing him in, a big character.
How you behave. He doesn't drink, James. How he behaves day to day. Drag a few in the gym and show him how it's done.
So, lads, would you believe we've come to the
Already?
end? Yeah, I know. That's what happens when you chat.
My voice is gone. 2 weeks to go.
He's been
speaking
too much. Stephen is wrecked. So we just heard. We have. Remember, Philly McMahon was on. I know you have like being your bonnet about Philly, but Philly's a great lad.
No,
and he was talking about when he was a performance director at Bowes. They were able to monitor players' levels going up and down, and when they're tired and when they need to be taken off. And my producer got him a year there, said Stephen's been talking too much. He's ready to finish the podcast, so we've had to wrap the podcast up because we could hear your voice starting to waver now.
When are we getting Philly on with Stephen?
Yeah. That's the dream scenario.
Oh, listen.
Let's do it.
Get him on. And I like debate. I like conversation.
Of course, yeah.
I think
you don't go below the belt, I'm happy.
He's obviously very knowledgeable fella as well. I'd love to hear in terms of the Gaelic stuff.
Why doesn't he come down and mark me next week in hurling? See how good he is.
No, he'd mark you out of it.
Is he a good hurler?
You thought you were coming in here to do a podcast today, Stephen.
Football or hurling?
Please.
Is there any hurlers
to stick on? Whoever was the best player for the other team, stick Philly on him. And that'd be
Is there any good
Null and
hurlers
void.
in Dublin?
Oh, controversial. Niall Quinn. Anyway, Niall Quinn played minor hurling for Dublin and he was brilliant. But anyway, lads, listen, always a joy, absolute joy. That was episode 21, House of Football with Sports Joe and William Hill. I've been Eric Lalor. Massive thanks to Alan Cawley and Stephen Hunt for joining me this week. You know the story. Share, like, subscribe, tell your pals, and we'll see you all again next week.
You've been listening to House of Football, brought to you by Sports Joe and William Hill.